Welcome to DASAR. My name is Darshan Doshi, and I hope you've enjoyed the podcast so far. I have an incredible guest with me today, Vikas Kumar.
Hello.
Vikas is a runner, five-time entrepreneur, an author, and an investor. So clearly, he brings a lot to the table. What I'm hoping to do today, Vikas, is get multidisciplinary approach. You know how you apply your learnings from being a runner or running a running group to entrepreneurship, to investment, to entrepreneurship, and just learn from each other.
Great, great. I'll be happy to share whatever I know.
Fantastic. So, just a quick introduction. Vikas Kumar hails from Pune. He's been a founder of BrainVisa, where he was the co-founder and CTO. For those who don't know BrainVisa, it was one of the earliest edtech successes in India with Fortune 500 customers. Uh, Post that, he has started various other ventures, which includes WPoets, which includes LoanTap. LoanTap is one of the fastest growth FinTech startups, another one from Pune within the lending space across India. So we'll get to talk a little bit about that as well. And he's also one of the co-founders of the Pune Running Group, and which is where I want to kind of get started today, because I think there is a lot to learn from what you can do with a fit body or your extracurricular activities about fitness and sports, and how does that bring in to your startup or to your investment or your life, right? So before we get that, Vikas, I've given a quick introduction of who you are, but I'm curious to learn, when someone comes to you and asks, who is Vikas Kumar, what do you typically say?
Uh, so that's a tough one. But basically, the way I look at myself is I think two things basically define me. A, I'm a problem solver. So I love solving problems. I like spend days and days trying to solve a problem. It could be a technology problem, it could be a simple problem, it could be a relationship problem. So, and my objective is always to find a simple solution. So I've always found myself as a solver. The other thing which I think myself is I'm a very passionate person. So I do a lot of things, and each of them I bring a lot of passion. So today morning I was playing badminton. I play with as much passion as I run, as I do my work. So I'm just a very passionate person, and I'm passionate about traveling, about everything. So I think that's what defines me, the passion
Excellent.
I carry with myself.
So diverse interests, and I have
Yeah, many,
seen
many.
seen the passion. I remember where you had come at Flame University and you had conducted
Yeah,
a 3-hour workshop on whether you should take investment for startups
yeah,
and what is the fundraising process. And I thought that was one of the best workshops I have been ever a part of. So
yeah.
that was
I always speak
interesting.
also with passion. That's why a lot of people like hearing me, because unlike other people, I bring a lot of passion to the table. So they kind of relate to that fact.
Excellent. So let's start off, with Pune running. Uh, you've been on the fitness journey for a long time now. You've been running a lot. I know just before the recording, what we were discussing was you're thinking of going to Leh Ladakh
Yeah,
and run at about 10,000 feet above sea level,
yeah, 80,000 feet.
18,000 feet at Khardungla,
Yeah, Kardugla.
right? So I'm just curious to learn, what got you started, in within your fitness journey, and why put together Pune Running Group.
Okay, so I've always been obese or fat since childhood, right? So if I show you some of my old photos, I look really, really fat, right? So in about 2009-10, I started realizing that this is not going to work out. I wanted to get fit. So I looked around and I said, hey, I want something which I can do for the rest of my life. So I looked around various sports and I realized that running was such an option, because you could even run when you're 90 years old. So I decided I wanted to run. Now the challenge was nobody ran. So when I went to the university, the whole of university would have two, three runners. So finding somebody to run was an impossible scenario in 2010. So then I said, yeah, this will not work out, because if I don't have friends to run, I will also not end up running. So then we decided, I got a couple of people who are also passionate about running, and we decided that no, let's form a group, right? And that time there was no real culture of running, especially in Pune. You used to have Mumbai Marathon and all, but hardly anybody knew anything about running. So we decided we'll do a Pune running thing, and get people into it. And we used to actually hand out flyers in the university that, hey, why don't you try running? So we did all those stuff, and then the community sort of built, and it's now one of the largest communities around.
So it has over 5,000 runners today, right?
Oh, many more.
And then I think COVID lockdown, at least I see Pune getting extremely fit.
Yeah, COVID completely changed the fitness cycle. So people have become extremists. Either people have stopped doing anything, or they have become berserk and have become like really passionate about fitness. So the number of runners, if you go on Sunday to Pashan Road, you can't believe it's like a mela out there. Hundreds and hundreds of runners, right? And more than half of them are from Pune running.
Excellent.
So it's amazing.
So you built out the Pune running group. You wanted company. I think.
Yeah, just for that.
Personally, even I have found that for running, I have 2 other people who I run with. For training, I've got a trainer. So a buddy system really works well
it
when
has
you
to
want to
be that
get fit, right? Even in sports, if you're playing badminton or table tennis or squash, it kind of gets you out of the bed and gets you with that consistency.
And running is inherently sort of a very monotonous sport in a way, as in it's broadly running. You can obviously run in different places, but unlike some other sport where different things keep happening. So in a football, let's say, you have 10 different things happening. Running is practically similar every time.
Right.
So, it might get monotonous, and therefore you need buddies and friends, which help you keep that alive. Otherwise, I would have quit running way back.
So let me understand the transferable skills now, or the mindset, right? How has running helped you individually in your life, professionally as well? And has there been any benefits that you got out of being a marathoner in your startup journey, in your investment journey?
Yeah, tons and tons. I think one of the key things running teaches you is patience. So when you're running 10 hours, 12 hours, so I've done the Oxfam, which took me 22 hours. When you're running such long distances, you become a very, very patient person, right? So you see most of the runners, who do especially ultras and all, over time they become very patient, right? So I used to be a very angry person before my running career. So a lot of my anger has gone away, right? And I've become very, very patient. The other thing which running teaches you is a discipline, right? So an event, you have to run at 2 in the morning, you have to run at 5 in the morning, so you have to wake up at odd times. So it sort of gives you a lot of this whole disciplined approach, and you become very comfortable, being able to sit 20 hours and do an activity. So a lot of discipline, a lot of patience, and of course it brings a lot of passion, which is quite common. Every startup founder needs to be very passionate, and every runner needs to be passionate. You can't run 100 kilometers and not be passionate. It's not possible.
Excellent. So I read in a study that some of the most wealthiest people in the world who happen to have built various businesses, who have been great at investing, there is a commonality that the ones who have built or started something new and have been good at investment have a fitness regime that goes with it, whether it is cycling, whether that is running, whether that is Ironman, whatever it may be. There's a comprehensive study which proves that. What I'm curious about though is, have you seen something like this similar with other runners where they've been able to build something of their own and found success or meaning in their lives?
Yeah. Quite a few. So there is a company called Sugar. Both the promoters, the husband and wife, they have done the Ironman. They have run the Comrades together. So you're absolutely right. If you actually look at the founders, you would think that startup, the founders, they would be so busy they can't be fit. It's actually the opposite, right? Most of the startup founders seem to have a very, very fitness oriented regime, And I think it sort of keeps them, keeps the startup together, because startup can be quite destroying. And you find some kind of a relief in a purely physical activity or something, a breather sort of a thing. So yeah, I'm quite sure that a lot of founders have a very good fitness regime, and they are either into cycling or running. A lot of them do a lot of trekking. They'll take 1 week break from their startup and just go to the Himalayas. So passion is common to both of these, and passionate people invariably tend to find some kind of a fitness activity where they'll go extreme.
Vikas, my next question is about LoanTap. 2014-15 in the Indian ecosystem, we got a lot of influx of venture capital. And like you said, 2015-16, we've seen a lot of fantastic startups that have come up, especially in the Indian FinTech space. You're operating in one. So would love to hear your journey, the reason why you started LoanTap. But most importantly, what does LoanTap do today? What is the funding stage? And some numbers around the progress that you've made so far.
So basically, when we started in 2016, you had a whole background of years and years of banking, which had never changed. So, and it's reasonably true today also. So if you go to a bank and ask for a loan, you can get a home loan, or you can get what is called a term loan or a EMI loan. So basically, you pay an equated monthly installment. So my partner then realized that there is a space out there, and people want new products, right? Something different, right? So why do you go to Starbucks? You can get a coffee at $10 down your house, right? Because he'll put something else, he'll put a frappe or put something, a cream, and make it something different, right? And then you're willing to pay $500 for the same thing, right? So we realized that people had changed, millennials had evolved, and while they have aspirations, so they wanted bigger loans, but they were not able to pay a EMI every month. So we said, hey, there's an opportunity here to redesign products and have products where every month you could only pay the interest, and then your bullet amounts and the principals you could pay every 3 6 months when your bonus comes in, or you redeem a mutual fund or something like that. So products like that, then overdrafts. So India, you could always get an overdraft if you were a self-employed or a business. Nobody offered overdraft to salaried people, but your expenses are discrete. For example, suppose you are having a wedding at home. You're not going to spend all the money on day one, right? One day you are going to pay the banquet guy. One day you are going to buy some jewelry. So you need the money at different intervals. But you can take you had to, if you took a loan from the bank, you had to take everything at one shot and start paying interest on the whole amount. So that's where we launched a product called EMI free loans, where we said, hey, pay us the interest and principal in bullets. And then we had overdrafts. And so like that, we realized that there were many products customers were looking for, slightly tweaked, slightly customized to meet their needs. So needs had changed, but the products had not. So that's why LoanTap always prides itself that it's a product design company. So we don't compete with banks and all on interest rates. It's obvious that I charge a higher interest rate than banks. We compete on convenience, on product design, on reaching out to the customer. So those are the parameters we excel on. And we realize that people are happy to pay a little bit extra, right? If they're getting it more convenient, right? If they're getting a better product. Just as I said, you're willing to pay so much more for a coffee because you can sit in a nice environment, you can get it customized. So that worked well for us.
So basically, personalized lending.
Absolutely, that's a good choice of words. So yeah.
Right. So LoanTap provides personalized lending. It goes to the consumer and helps the salaried professionals.
Yeah. Predominantly, we work with salaried professionals.
Okay. And so how many loans have you disbursed so far?
About 30 or 1,000.
30,000?
Yeah.
Totaling to roughly how many crore?
About 600 odd crores.
600 crore.
Yeah.
And many of them, I'm assuming, are millennials or young adults.
Majority. So we would typically be lending anywhere between 20 to 35, 20 to 40. After 40, people will again go more to the traditional banks, and before 28 we are not very comfortable lending. So typically below 25 we do not lend,
Okay.
right? That's a segment which is still finding its feet, so it's difficult to recover money at that point.
Perfect. So, at a high level, I'm sure you've done a lot of data analysis, disbursing, 600 crore worth of loans to across to various Indian professionals. Any insights, any unique behaviors, or anything that you found? Wow, I didn't expect this at all.
Oh, sure. So something very interesting, and I keep discussing that, is that today's millennials have compartmentalized their lives. Now, what I mean by that is, suppose he has some money in a mutual fund, right, which is giving him 10% return. He will take a loan at 20%, but not break his mutual fund. So people have allocated money for different purposes and they don't mix anymore, which is very strange because when we were young, when we used to take loans and all, we were told you should pay off your highest loan, right? So it's logical. First, you pay off your personal loan or your two-wheeler loan, then you pay off your home loan last, and then you invest. Today's millennials are not doing that. They have their own FDs, which they will not break. They will take a separate loan. They have their own investments, which they will not break. Every their money has got into different buckets, and they don't mix the buckets,
Very
which is
interesting.
amazing. You would not guess that, but that's what's happening.
And any insights on what are they using these loans for?
So the millennials basically have figured out, and COVID I think has accentuated that life is sort of in the moment, and there is no point sort of hoarding money for ages. Also, what has happened, you see, when we were younger, right? Job opportunities were few. There were few careers, so you were not even sure if you did not aggregate money whether you'll make it through your life. Right? Today, even an average person, because of internet and all, is reasonably sure he can earn 20, 30, 40, 50,000 without too much of an effort. So the fear of not having money has vanished. Once you remove that fear out of the system, people want to spend today. So people are taking money for as trivial as a thing as taking their girlfriend out on a date. To travel is a big segment which last year took a hit, but will again recover. So people, instead of going to Thailand with their own money, they'll go to Amsterdam with borrowed money. So travel is big. Medical emergencies and medical is big. Lot of millennials, unlike what media might tell you, is paying for their parents. So they actually take loans from us to fund the operation of their parents. Millennials are really taking care of their parents, which is amazing.
Amazing.
The media has distorted this story completely, but I see hundreds of loans being taken not for themselves because they are fit, but for their parents, which is amazing. So that's another big segment. Then people are borrowing for weddings. So people are borrowing everything which you wanted to do 5 years later, they are doing today. They buy for furniture. So every 2 3 years they want to change their sofa, right? That'll cost them a lakh. So for day to day, lot of day to day or discrete expenses is what we say. They are taking money like nobody's business. So the market is booming, right? Everything is on EMI, buy now, pay later. So even if you buy a fridge worth 30,000, people still want to take it on a loan. Why sort of invest? Why even pay 30,000 when I can get it for on an EMI or a loan? So yeah, they're borrowing for every damn thing on earth.
My next question to you is, LoanTap is operating in this big wave of the Indian fintech space. The Indian fintech boom has been happening for a few years now, but as I understand, we are just in the swell of that wave, meaning there's a lot more coming going forward. So, the government of India has played a huge role in this with the digital infrastructure, India Stack, UPI, the upcoming account aggregator framework, and many more, Aadhaar. So, as a person who's running a fintech company, one of the fastest growing fintech companies in India, how has the digital infrastructure enabled you?
So it's interesting actually. So India in the last 2 3 years has done dramatic work on this side. Like as you mentioned, UPI is a great saver because a lot of people are now very comfortable with paying with UPI, right? What it has done from our perspective is it has moved the cash economy into a banking economy, into a recognizable economy. What that means is I can trace people. So every time you do a use the digital stack, you leave a footprint, and based on that footprint, I can evaluate you. So like earlier, how do I judge somebody who's a new guy or who's only 6 months into business? But now suddenly I have 6 months of UPI data. I have 6 months of GST data because all the GST is online, so the data is available, right? So all of this digitalization has allowed us to track people and create alternate methods of judging people beyond just a credit score or banking history. So earlier, the only options were you look at the income tax returns and broadly, based on that and some of the banking transactions, you decided a loan. But now you can look at the GST data, you can look at the UPI data, you can look at the credit card data, you can look at the POS machine data, and all of this data is now available and available reasonably easily.
If you were to start a business today, what are some $100 million plus business opportunities that you see which you would have liked to jump upon if you were not doing LoanTap, but you know what you know today?
So one of the things which I've really been passionate about, and I feel that there's a huge opportunity, and I want to do that at some point of time, is in the tech space. What has happened is that we have gone towards extremes. So originally we were at one extreme where we had one platform which did everything, monolithic. Typically, we use Microsoft or some other platform where everything was sort of bundled into one, and then everybody reacted, and everything got fragmented in SaaS based models, and now I use some 30 40 vendors, right? And now it's creating a new problem integrating all of them. I believe there is a happy midway by what we call microservices, right? For some reason or the other, microservices has not really taken off yet, but I see a huge opportunity there, and I believe that in the tech space, the next big thing, there'll be a lot of billion-dollar stories made by people offering multitudes of microservices in a common platform. So I see that being a big
So,
opportunity.
can you elaborate a little bit? What do you mean by microservices?
So what's happening is, so let's say, for example, I want to send mails. So I go to a SaaS provider, let's say a SendGrid. Now, because he has only one functionality to be able to send mails, he has 50 different things which you can do only in that domain. But I don't need most of that stuff. All I need is the ability to send a mail. Now, the challenge is if he only did that one thing, he would not be able to earn enough money. So, therefore, he bundles his service and makes it look like a very, very complex service. Then, what the microservices does is breaks apart all of this and brings the 80 100 common services which I require in one common platform, and a simple platform. So like for example, in mail service, what do I need? The ability to send a mail. So the microservice says, hey, I'll let you send a mail. What else do you want to do? You want to validate SMSs, send OTP messages. I'll give you a OTP service. So imagine a microservice as choosing the best dishes and putting them all together. That's what a microservices platform can sort out, because majority of the things I don't really require. Like take Microsoft Word, you take the latest version, 90 all the new features nobody knows, and honestly nobody cares. If you took Microsoft Word maybe 2015 also, it's you still have not used 90% of its features. But because they need to keep growing, they keep adding features which most of them don't make sense to you. So if you scrap out all of this and just create a platform which has the core things which you require, right, that becomes amazing, right? And what I also what you realize, as a developer and as a CTO, whatever technology you do. So when I was in BrainVisa, when I did work with Mobicon, when I did with SME Networks, LoanTap, 80 to 90% of what you build is exactly the same. You have to send messages, you have to do SMSs, you have to do reporting, It's the same thing canned in a different environment. So can we abstract this 80%, 90% which we always require and put them in a microservices architecture? I believe that is going to be a big story.
If there was one thing that you wanted to change, what would it be and why?
So one thing I've been wondering a lot recently is that as we are moving, as the world is becoming more and more technology oriented, two things have changed, right? A, we are becoming, I believe, distinctly less and less happier, right? And B, we are becoming more and more selfish, very individualistic, and that includes me. I feel that I'm way more selfish than I should be, right? We are just because today you have the ability to pamper yourself. We are reaching a crazy level of selfishness where the whole world is sort of revolving around yourself, and everything else is to suit your needs. So you're also posting on Facebook, but it's about you only, right? So the whole thing, the world is sort of becoming very self-centered.
Having achieved so much in different areas of your life, what still keeps you motivated? What still keeps you so passionate?
That's something actually I keep asking myself. So one thing which I've done, recent over time is I've become more and more minimalistic, right? So, and I believe that's the way to go, right? There's no point really, buying big cars or becoming flashy. It doesn't make you more happy. So and that's another thing which actually running has taught me. When you go and run in villages and small places where you don't even have a decent toilet and you're running 12 hours and you don't have any access to toilet, you realize that minimalistic is the way to go. So money no more motivates me. Yeah, I think what is the reason why I do this and I'm still going to be an entrepreneur maybe for the next 10 years is I like to build. So when you see things built, when you solve problems, right, that makes you meaningful. So I keep telling people that the single biggest human need is relevance. Till you live, you want to be relevant.
You also talked about money, and one of the focus areas of DASAR is wealth, right? And money is one part of wealth. So, what does wealth mean to you today?
I've figured out a lot of that for myself at least. So one thing which has completely changed is I've realized that one of the things you have to do is be super fit in life, and not only fit, be really fit. That sorts out a lot of your wealth issues, because once you age, half the money you're spending on your health related issues. So if you're fit, you need very little money to be happy in life and to live a good life. But pure on the money front, I have figured out that somewhere between 15 crores and 20 crores, right, is a place where I believe I'm quite happy, right? So if you have earned that much, broadly, you can live a very happy life, especially in India. Even considering inflation and considering kids and all their education. So that's the number which I'm comfortable with. I see no meaning of earning after that, right? And I don't even know what I'll do if I have more money than that.
How has being an investor in startups or other investment vehicles, how has that influenced some of the things that you do at LoanTap or running?
So see, I believe that all said and done, if you run a startup, you need money, and you have to raise it from investors. And given the market and the fact that the competition is very high, you know, like in the fintech space, there's so many lenders, so many payment gateways. Everything is, you'll find 20 startups doing the same thing, right? You need a lot of money to survive, for which you'll have to approach investors. So understanding the investor psyche and understanding the way they behave helps you build a better startup, because you know the other side of the story. So you can build your startup the way the investor, make it investor friendly, let's put it that way, so that the investor has a reason to invest in your company. So in fact, I think it could be a good idea for if startup founders can afford to invest in other startup. They should. Then they get much deeper insights on how this whole ecosystem works. And if you actually look at it, most of the startup founders who have been successful are all investing in some other startups. That seems to be underlying theory there. So right from Ratan Tata to Ritesh Agarwal of Oyo, everybody is investing in other startups. So yeah, it
Excellent. So
teaches you a lot.
understanding the other side of the table helps you build a company if you are looking to raise funding, if you are looking to grow that fast.
Yeah.
Vikas, I'm sure you've encountered some failures in your life.
And many.
So, is there or has there been one failure where your perspective about life or about yourself changed that you would be happy to share with?
So during the in between about 2011-12, I shifted 6 months to Delhi to do a startup called Bollywood and Fashion. So it was in e-commerce and all. And so after 6 months, we folded up because one of our partners there did not want to continue. All right. So there I learned a lot there, that y- these startups, the right team or the co-founder team, that is super critical. So it's better not to do a startup than do a startup with some people, if you do not know those people, or just because two people are friends, hey, let's do a startup. Most of them are most probably not great ideas, right? The co-founders must, you must have much deeper trust. You must know the your partners from a long time, right? And you must be really comfortable with them, and you can see being with them for the next 3 5 10 years, right? uh, so after that I realized that if I want to again do a startup, choosing a right co-founder will be the most important thing. I think once you have done that, half the battle is won.
Excellent. And then you've got that with Satyam right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, he's one of the best partners you could ask for, honestly.
Fantastic. My last question to you is, some recommendations, whether it is books, whether it is routines, whether it is podcast, writings, anything that have influenced you that you would like to share with the audience.
So one of the things which I've been doing in the last couple of years, which I think everybody should be doing, is listen to TED Talks, right? I find them amazing because in 16, 18 minutes, the insights which you get is crazy, right? You read a whole book which takes you maybe 3 4 hours, but those 18 minutes gives you much deeper insight, because typically what happens in a TED Talk, the people who are speaking, they have gone through that whole journey. So they're just not a writer, they have actually experienced that. So you have people who have gone through cancer and they're talking about cancer, right? Or somebody who has been a gym instructor or somebody for 20 25 years, and he's talking about fitness. You can't beat that experience.
Thanks, Vikas, for coming on this podcast.
Pleasure. Happy to share my thoughts.
Thank you. Vikas is one of the few people who's been an entrepreneur, who's an investor, who's a runner, and comes with deep insights and a lot of passion. Uh, I hope you found this insightful. If you've liked this podcast, please share it with the relevant people. We also have an online community where people come together to build things, to take that first step towards their goals. We have a lot of writings as well. We have a newsletter which goes out every Wednesday, which is curated reads from some of the best writers in the world. We have conceptual breakdowns, which you'll find on DASAR podcast as well. I hope you've enjoyed this. I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.
Thanks.